I got all off my game from the AI thing. Um, but but thanks for coming tonight. So Team Climb is made up of nine separate director teams, and we come together every Sunday night for usually about 30 minutes and we talk about a hot topic. But more than anything, Team Klein, we are known for our community. These are some of the best people that you're ever going to meet, and we love each other. So we are welcoming you with our big love bomb. So glad you're here, and we can't wait to hear all of your tips on finishing the year strong. And just so you guys know, Aaron and I were chatting after we went to a director's retreat, and we just really fell in love with Kelly. She was, and before you got here, Kelly, we were talking about she's so warm. She's, great to learn from. So we are so excited for you to meet Team Climb and a couple extra friends. So welcome.
Thank you. And I am super excited, feeling very honored to be here. It's such kind of a pivotal time of the year, right? It's like there's still a lot of time left, but not so much too, because it's just flying by. So certainly a good time for us to kind of look at our goals, where you're at versus where you want to be, and consider how you finish strong. And so with that in mind, can I share my screen? I'm gonna send you a request. You guys, I was doing Happy Mail earlier for something that Judy and I did last week. And in the Happy Mail, Judy had a good idea to put confetti. I'm sorry, I'm already like going off the topic.
All
But
good.
I'm wiping. I like people are gonna hate us when they open this mail because it's gonna be like a confetti bomb. And it seems so cute until now I'm wiping it off of every crevice on my desk. Holy moly. And I thought I did a good job cleaning it all up. So if you see me wiping, you know why. So okay.
Well, I am one of those weirdos that love glitter, so I'd be all about it.
I love it too. I mean, 'cause it's pretty, right? It's pretty, and this is stars. It has stars on it, so very colorful. Um, but yeah, it's everywhere. And it just sticks. It just sticks to all of the things. But okay, we are now official. So thanks for letting me have that little sidebar as I was also taking care of some housekeeping. But thanks again for having me tonight. I'm excited to talk to you. I am Kelly Coleman. I have been with Pampered Chef for a year now, a year in August. I can't believe. Time has certainly flown by. I live in Central Florida. So let's see a little bit about me personally. I am single. I live next door to my parents. So when I moved back to Central Florida about 2 years ago, I built a home right next to my parents. So that's been a work in progress for the last year. And so I'm finally moved into my new place and enjoying being near my family, which I haven't been for the last 25 years. So I am a pet lover. I'm a reader. I love to travel. I love to golf, or at least pretend that I can golf. And I love direct sales. So I've been in this business, even though I've just been with Pampered Chef the last year. I've been in the industry for 21 years. And I would say that in terms of my passion for direct sales, it's all about the community. So I love that this team embraces that. It's, one of those things that you get into this business not realizing it's going to be the thing that makes you want to continue to, jump out of bed and do your job because you love the community element of it. And that's definitely been the case for me. But I also lead with numbers. I love to lead with numbers and with mindset. And so I think that when we talk about finishing strong, those two things kind of go hand in hand, kind of looking at your goals, leading with what you wanted when you started the year, you're kind of analyzing with numbers where you're at versus where you want to be, and then wrapping your mindset, your head around it, and figuring out that plan to make it happen. So we're going to talk about that tonight. And, I've said this before, but it's true. With 2 months left in 2024, including what is historically our most lucrative selling weeks of the year, there truly is plenty of time for you to achieve your goals. But with a sense of urgency, right? Because there really only are 2 months left. So there's a sense of urgency for ensuring that we are doing all of the things that we need to finish the year strong. But before we consider what that will look like and how you can do it, let's look at why by thinking through a question. So I'm going to pull up my chat so I can see your answers. Tell me in the chat, what are the chances of you earning $1 million between now and the end of the year? Slim to none. That's so funny, Aaron. That was like my exact answer. None, 1%, zero, none. Yeah, not happening. None. Not good. Yeah, wah, wah. Okay, let me ask the same question, but a little differently. What are the chances of you earning $1 million between now and the end of the year if your family's life depended on it? So, did the odds increase some? I'm going to bet that they did. And what changed? What changed in those two scenarios? The goal didn't change, right? It's still to earn $1 million. And the timing didn't change, right? You still have between now and the end of the year. But the why changed. Your reason changed. Your why. Why do you pampered chef? Why do you do what you do? Your why is so real. Where is it? Is it strong? Is it so clear that it gets you out of bed each and every day, ready to do the things that you need to do, ready to do, the what and the how to make your dreams and goals a reality, to finish strong? Because that's where you have to start. You have to start with that why. And speaking of start, how many of you have heard that the most important step to reaching a goal is to start? Have you heard that? So I'm going to challenge that thinking because the start definitely makes a difference, right? When you're starting something, you're setting a goal, it's a necessary step, but it's not the most important step. Do you know what's more important than starting? It's something that makes the start look easy, and it's the finish. So tell me in the chat, at the start of this year, how many of you set a goal for your business, for yourself? Maybe you created a New Year's resolution. Tell me in the chat. Robin did. I did, Robin. Kim did. Yes. Yes to Aaron. Christy did. Yeah, a lot of us do. A lot of us set those goals, whether they're personal goals or business goals or a combination of, right? We started something. We set a goal to start. Now, let me ask you this. Of those goals, New Year's resolutions or goals otherwise, what do you think is the percentage of those things that fail? Any guesses? What percentage do you think fail? 98%, 100% fail. At least 75%, 95, 90. You guys are all like in the same range-ish. So, according to studies, 92% of all New Year's resolutions and goals that people set at the new year fail. That's crazy, right? That's crazy because every year, tens of millions of people start January with a New Year's resolution or with goals. And 100% of the people start, but only 8% finish, which means statistically that you've got the same chance of getting into Juilliard to become a prima ballerina as you do at finishing your goals because their acceptance rate is 8%. 8% finish. And so doesn't that put into perspective how much more important it is to finish rather than to start? It's crazy. And so, with all that in mind, in our time together tonight, I'll be sharing some wisdom from John Acuff and his book, Finish. Throw a heart in the chat if you have read this book. Christy, you're one of the smart ones to not make New Year's resolutions. It's like you already know the odds. So Katie's read this book. It's a good one. Tammy hasn't. I'm gonna bet after tonight, if you haven't read this book, that you're gonna be quick to buy it for sure. It's a good one. John Acuff is actually a comedian, and so it's not just a great book with some really good applicable advice, but it's funny, easy read. And to write his book, John worked with several researchers to study people in a 30-day goal setting class. They found that people who completed the course had a 27% greater chance of success over the other times that they had attempted goal setting. But it makes sense, right? When you focus on a goal consistently for 30 days, you should improve. But what was astonishing is something that should actually be more apparent to all of us, but it's just kind of not. The exercises as it related to the study that caused people to increase their progress were twofold. So first, people did better when they did things that took pressure off of themselves and their goals. And then second, things that did away with crippling perfectionism, which caused other people in the class to quit working towards their goals. So, in other words, the less that people aim for perfect, the more productive they were, which is kind of interesting. And so, with perfectionism in mind, thinking about yourself, put a yes in the chat if you have struggled ever with perfectionism or trying to do things just right, perfect. Yes, yes, yes. The yeses are coming pretty quick. So not surprised. Um, Total transparency, me too, all the time. I think that most of us do struggle with a concept of perfectionism, at least to some degree, right? But here's the thing. If you want to finish what you start, you as leaders in a business, leaders of leaders, if you want to close out 2024 strong, you've got to do all that you can to let go of your perfectionism and the concept of perfectionism. And I'm going to share a couple of shortcuts from John Acuff and this book that will help you start finishing your goals and achieving your dreams. All right, let's start here. The day after perfect. So have you ever started working on a goal and then after 2 or 3 days, you break the streak? Be honest. I know that I have. So, for example, let's say that you decide to track your booking messages. You're on a roll, you're tracking daily, and then you miss a day or two and you throw it out the window. You stop tracking altogether. It happens, right? Or maybe you set a goal to walk for 30 minutes, 5 days a week, but then you miss day 4. And so you don't walk again for the rest of the month. This is sadly very common. And interestingly enough, when people were interviewed about why they quit their goals, they all use a very similar language. They'd say things like, I fell behind and couldn't get back on track, or life got in the way and my plans got derailed. So, in other words, when it stopped being perfect, they stopped too. You missed one day of your diet and then decided the whole thing was dumb. Friends, I do this weekly. I start a new diet every Monday, starting again tomorrow. Not gonna lie, it's so true. But why? Or, you were too busy to do reach outs one morning, so you just put your tracker away and you stopped altogether. These things are common, and it's because this is the first lie that perfectionism tells you about goals. It says, if it isn't perfect, just quit. Does anyone feel attacked? You're like, she's talking to me. I felt the same way when I read the book. And here's the truth. The execution towards your goals won't be perfect. It just won't. You will fail and you will fail more than once, and that's okay. Doing something imperfectly will not kill us. Do you know what happens when you miss a day of working towards your goal? Nothing. Nothing bad happens. So, developing tolerance for imperfection is a key factor in turning chronic starters into consistent finishers. Your chronic starters quit the day after perfect, which means that the day you start working on a goal isn't the most important day. In fact, the most important day is the day after perfect, the day that you decide to move beyond a break in consistency and to keep showing up. Because there is something that will serve you far more than perfectionism ever could. And that is moving forward imperfectly. And so, starting right now, I encourage you all to reject the idea that the day after perfect means you failed because it's just not true. You, in fact, get to try again today, tomorrow, the next day, and so on. Unfortunately, though, perfectionism dies slowly. It is persistent and it's particularly dangerous because it masquerades itself as excellence. And it's also uncomfortable. I'm gonna bet, and I'm gonna look at the chat here in a second because I can see that it's going off and I can't really see it. But I'm gonna bet that a few of you have already felt uncomfortable with this topic because you think the opposite of perfection is failure. I think that that's ingrained in a lot of us who, kind of are you're bred to, want to be perfect or to try to be all the things to all the people. But the reality is that the opposite of perfect is finished. And that's what we want you to be as you close out 2024. We don't want you to be uncomfortable. No, we want you to be finished with your goals through the achievement of them. So now that we are aware of what's really behind our quitting behavior, let's look at some shortcuts that will help us keep going the day after perfect. All right. But first, let's consider what we're working towards. All right. Take a minute while I read through the chat here. But while I'm doing that, I'd like for you guys to, like, if you have pen and paper, take a minute and jot down a few goals that you still intend to achieve before the end of the year. I'm going to bet that you've already achieved some of your goals, right? But what are the few that are kind of lingering? So take a minute and jot those down. Okay. So with this question in mind, does anyone want to share? If you want to come into the chat or you can come off mute, whatever you're most comfortable with. But let us know some of these goals that you still intend to achieve before the end of this year. I'd love to know. Who's got goals? All right, Carrie's still going for Disney. Thank you, Carrie. Good. Doing 3 to 4 parties a month and making at least $700. I love that you're specific with that, Becky. Okay, here we go. Qualifying team members. I saw Disney again. I like a short-term goal of a successful launch party. I love that. Again, being specific. Getting at least one $500 party since I just started. Yes, yes. Okay, good. So it looks like there's a variety of goals, and this is the perfect starting point. And again, this is kind of the first place to consider because you want to figure out where you're at versus where you need to be, and to consider the things that we just talked about as it relates to perfectionism and some of these strategies that we're going to cover. All right. So with this in mind, with your goals in mind, consider this. Do you need to bomb any of those goals? Yep. I said what I said. You have to be realistic, right? Realistically, should you just ditch any of your intended goals, at least for now? I'm not saying forever. In the book, John teaches us that the only way to accomplish a goal is to feed it your most valuable resource, and that's time. Time is not an unlimited resource. We only have so much of it. And what we never like to admit is when we give time to something, we take time away from something else. In other words, to be good at something, we might have to be bad at something else, at least temporarily. And so while I'm not saying bomb your goal forever, if you have priorities with your goal, maybe you need to kind of, readjust your list. Because here's another lie that perfectionism likes to tell us. And it's the biggest lie of all, which is that we can do it all of the things. That's what it says, right? And now here's the thing. I know that you all are amazing humans and business leaders, but every one of us has limits. And deep down, I think we all know this. But we still think if we can just try harder or find one more app to help us, that we can do all the things and we don't have to give anything up. But that's just not true. We cannot be all the things all the time, and we cannot be all the things to all the people. And guess what? That is so okay. It's so okay because we can still be a lot of those things, right? And we have to bomb some goals to make other things happen. Perfectionism's best friends are named shame and guilt. Have you met them? I have. More than likely, you spent a portion of your adult life trying to do everything and be everything to everyone, and in some instances, feeling shame when you come up short. So, today, John and I and your leaders give you permission to say no to shame, say no to guilt. It is okay to let go of things that aren't serving you and your business goals, even if it's just for a season. All right. Because in a couple of months, you're going to have a chance to start this whole goal setting process over and continue to prioritize and figure out what to bomb and all the things, right? So even if it's just for a season, it is okay to say no once in a while. It is. And so following the call, I'd like for you to expand upon this concept. So I'm giving you some assigned homework, right? You've written down your goals, and at the end of this call, we'll go through this more detail. But as you think about your goals, I want you to take it a step further, and I want you to make a list of things that are taking up your time and attention that aren't serving your goals. And here's the thing, you have to be really honest with yourself, right? You have to really consider, are you going down rabbit holes? Are there time sucks here and there? Are there other ways that you can be more efficient? Be honest with yourself and be thorough and consider, what can you let go of? And then what will you use this time for instead? Even if there are things that you cannot stop doing completely, can you at least simplify them? So if you want to, you can take a screenshot of this slide for reference. And again, I'll be sure to remind you at the end of this call what your homework is. And I think that you will find this activity helpful and maybe even cathartic as you identify things that you can bomb, kind of give yourself a chance to just let go of, no shame, no guilt. And with that, create additional time that will allow you to work on income producing activities that will lead to the achievement of your goals. Because bombing things that aren't serving you is a great strategy. And then there's another strategy to consider, which when you're finishing strong is something that I think is a lot of fun to do. And that's having fun. If you make it fun, if you want it done. But here's the thing. Perfectionism thinks fun is a waste of time and holds no value. Wah, wah. Unfortunately, many of us tend to feel the same way. The reason we pursue goals that we don't like is twofold. One, we've been kind of brainwashed to think that goals have to be hard, right? There's actually another author who I love who says, make your goals big, hairy, and audacious. Have you heard this? Well, it's another thing is that we believe perfectionism when it tells us that fun goals don't count. But in the book, John says, make it fun if you want it done. If you ask people what pops into their mind when they hear the word goal, they will say things like discipline and pain, strive, and grind, and frustration, and other words that don't really sound so pleasant. We think that for a goal to be worthy, it must also be difficult. It must break us in the process, or it's not a good enough goal. The only way we'll know that we made progress is by the amount of blood and sweat and tears that we've shed. That sounds like a lot. I mean, honestly, right? I don't know about you, but that just sounds awful. And, personally, I have a hard time starting to work on things on a goal if I knew that those kind of hard things were in store for me. Wouldn't you agree? I want something that's going to make me want to jump out of bed and have fun and not like make me, drag myself to the computer to do my work. So, what if the goal that you're working on isn't fun? Do you have to give up on that goal and try to find one that's more fun? That's not the point either, not at all. You probably heard the saying, don't change the goal, change the plan. And that's the secret. It's not about finding something fun to do, a fun goal, but about finding the fun in the goal you are working on. And so as you are crystallizing your goals and making plans to close 2024 strong, consider that. How can you make those goals fun? In the book, John tells us that fun comes in two varieties, and it has to do with motivation. And this is important, right? Because we know that motivation is that thing that kind of keeps us going. So, generally speaking, we are either motivated by a reward or we're motivated by fear. So, here's the difference. People who are motivated by a reward are driven by what they will get from achieving the goal. They like to know what's in store for them at the finish. So things like going shopping for new clothes after losing 30 pounds or going on a dream vacation after paying off their debts. This is what gets them motivated and willing to work on their goals. And this is also referred to as approach motivation. On the other hand, people who are motivated by fear don't really care about the reward. It's more about what won't happen if they don't finish their goals. It's the fear that they will die at an early age if they don't lose weight, or that their kids will never be able to go to college if they don't get out of debt and start saving. So people motivated this way are not trying to achieve a desired reward. They're trying to prevent an undesired outcome. And this is also called avoidance motivation. And so, as you consider these things, I don't want you to think of them as good or bad, that one is better than the other. That's not what we're saying here. These are simply two types of motivation, and most people tend to fall into one more than the other. So, for example, I know that I'm motivated by the reward. I want the cookie after I've lost the pound, right? So, what about you? Take a moment and think about which type you fall into. And if you want to, tell me in the chat which one motivates you more, the reward or fear. And it's important to know this because failing to recognize what is fun or motivating is a big part of why goals often fail. Because fun is personal, right? Fun can be weird. It's okay. Fun can be creative and it can be so many other things. The bottom line is that you get to decide. And isn't that fun? It's fun to decide. So, friends, those are two of my favorite John Acuff shortcuts. There are more in the book. And so, if this topic is really hitting home for you, I strongly recommend reading the book and getting the other shortcuts too. And I encourage you to take these things into consideration because, like I mentioned earlier, there are 2 months left in 2024, which is a lot of time, but also not so much time, right? It lends to a sense of urgency to really consider your goals and where you're at versus where you want to be towards the achievement of them. And so, with all that in mind, it's time to get tactical. So, as we started, begin with your why in mind, and then get tactical with a few fundamental goal setting strategies that will help towards the achievement of your 2024 goals. So a few very key, these are basic things that you can read about anywhere, but as it applies to our business, you have to start with reviewing and refining your goals. We already kind of spoke to that, right? Revisit your goals, assess your progress, identify your gaps, areas that need improvement, make adjustments if necessary to ensure that the goals are specific, measurable, time-bound, that they're smart, right? And bomb any goal that's not currently relevant or if it's unattainable. Once you've done that, set your daily and weekly targets, right? Break your overall goals into smaller, manageable tasks. Set clear daily and weekly targets to keep you on track and ensure continuous progress for the balance of the year. And then prioritize your income producing activities, right? Focus on those things that directly impact your results, your bookings, your parties, your host coaching, your follow-ups. And again, bomb what you need to so that you can avoid distractions that don't contribute to hitting your targets. Ramp up your prospecting efforts, right? Tis the season to increase your outreach by connecting with more potential team members. And with that in mind, leverage your holiday sales opportunities, right? Because again, this is the perfect chance for you to offer seasonal promotions or bundles, take advantage of the bundles that we offer to capitalize on gift giving. Plan for consistent follow-up, right? Timely and consistent follow-up is key. And so maintain interaction, maybe reignite past conversations and set a follow-up schedule and stick to it. Stick to the schedule, but if you miss a day, it's okay. Just get back on track the day after. Perfect. Stay accountable. I mean, here you guys are with this incredible group that you're coming together once a week. You clearly have a perfect platform for an accountability buddy, a mentor, your upline to keep you focused. So be sure that you guys are checking in regularly, and giving each other motivation. We are better together for certain. Stay positive, stay persistent, keep a positive mindset, even if challenges arise. And remember our pampered chef lead triangle. And if your mindset isn't ideal, lead with action. You take this chance and re-engage existing customers. Again, 'tis the season to tap into your existing customer base. So reach out to loyal customers, give them personalized offers, thank you gestures to encourage repeat purchases, referrals, and seek business even outside of your parties, right? And then finally, reflect on wins and learn from misses. Because through it all, you want to take time to reflect on what has worked well so far and what hasn't. You're gonna again be setting new goals next year, so this reflection will be value added, not just now, but in the future. Be sure that you're celebrating small wins to build momentum and identify lessons from any setbacks that you can apply in this final push of the year. All right. And so with all that in mind, a few next steps. Many of you began sharing your goals here, but be sure to specifically share your goals with Katie and with Aaron and take it a step further by letting them know what your plans are to achieve the goal and how they can support. And then do your homework. Hopefully you got a screenshot of that page. But again, I want you to make a list of things that are taking up your time and attention that aren't serving your goals and think about what you can let go of and what you will use this time for instead. And have fun. By the way, in case you weren't sure, winning is fun, achieving your goals, that's fun. And so, if you, what is he saying? If you make it fun, if you want it done, well, let's have fun and let's achieve those goals along the way. And then consider this, most of us spend way too much time wondering what if, right? We imagine, we dream, we hope. In a week, it turns into a month, and a month turns into a year. And before we know it, perfectionism gets the best of us, and our goals seem out of reach. They start to feel impossible, and we may even stop working towards them altogether. So we decide that where we're at now is good enough, and we settle. But now you know that perfectionism is a liar. Perfectionism is lying to you. You absolutely can achieve your goals. And now you have some shortcuts to help you do just that. And so rather than wondering what if, instead, picture two doors in front of you. The first one is marked finished and leads to untold adventures and stories. And the other door is marked perfectionism, and it leads to a solid brick wall of frustration, shame, and incomplete hopes. Which door are you choosing to walk through? Tell me in the chat. Are you going through finished? Or are you going through perfectionism? Finished, finished. I was thinking you would say that. Of course, that makes me so, so happy. Choose finished. And I want you to know that as you do so, and as you're working on these goals, you've got to know that I believe in you. Everyone in the Pampered Chef home office believes in you. Your leaders especially believe in you. We know that you can become a finisher and achieve your 2024 goals. And we are cheering for you big. So you guys, let's finish strong. All right. Katie and Aaron, thank you. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this message uh,
We're
with your teams today.
so grateful for it. I have I mean, there were so many good little nuggets in there. I think this was so perfect timing for the team. So I just appreciate you taking the time. I had a couple of just like little highlights. And if anyone has questions or something that they're like, what about this? What about this? Maybe pop that in the chat or get ready and we'll ask. Um, But I was thinking about those that are newer. Maybe they didn't have a goal yet, or they're just starting like, I don't know. But um, when I'm thinking about, okay, we just did this seasonal change, right? Everything's changing around us, at least where I am in the Midwest. The leaves are changing, the weather's getting colder, it's darker. And this is a time where things are changing, things are getting sleepier, things are getting darker, and it's a perfect time for reflection. It's a perfect time to just carve out with your cup of tea or whatever to answer these questions. This homework is so well timed. So even if you're new and you didn't set 2024 goals, or if your 2024 goals are so not what you're going to be achieving in the next 2 months, I think this is the perfect exercise to reflect and to get back in tune with what is it that I want. And it's okay at any time for you to be in control, and it's okay for you to change your mind for whatever reason. So just give yourself permission to make new goals if you gotta, or recommit. So I cannot wait for next week when we get back together and all of you have done this exercise, right? And one thing I wanted to offer up is sometimes, you can post it in the team chat, but if you guys do this work and you want someone to tell it to so that it can like get solidified, I would love to do a one-to-one call with anyone that's in that place. You just let me know that that's you. And then I don't know. I want to hear from you guys. Does anyone have just like a one-liner or something that really is sticking out to them that we could say once more for that repetitive to get it in us a little bit better? Or any questions for Kelly before we go? Oh, and agreed. I think we need to start our book club. So let's all grab that book if you want in, and we'll give like 2 or 3 minutes each Sunday to talk about that.
I'm in for that too. That was awesome, Kelly. There's so much of it. Like it's just what I needed to hear, and I know so many of them are feeling that way too. It's just perfect, and we're so grateful for you to be here with us.
I would love to come back anytime. Thank you for having me. I'm enjoying actually reading through the chat. Whoever talked about the Oreo, I mean, you're speaking my language. Yes. I mean, walk a mile, eat an Oreo. I mean, it's so true. And to your point, Katie, even if you're newer to the business or you're ready to kind of reset goals, you can apply this to things in your personal life too. And we should, because what we do here at Pampered Chef and our personal lives, it's also integrated. And so I'm glad that you find it useful. And again, I'm just grateful to be here. So
Yeah.
thanks.
I
I
do.
would like to take a picture, so anyone that can come off of like show their face, if you can show your face, do it now so I can take your picture and we can get excited.
Good thinking.
Okay, let me try. Ready? Everybody smile. Yeah. Thank you.
The other thing, I think you said it for just momentarily, but perfectionism, like a lot of us, some people don't really identify with that word. Like, oh no, I can't do anything perfect. I'm not perfect. But it is a sneaky little bugger. And we find out that, oh, we're moving towards perfection even unconsciously. We don't even know we're doing that. So I'm really glad you called that out. But if anyone's here like, nah, I'm not perfect. I I think we need to read this book because I have a feeling that some of us are going to find out that we're perfectionists and we're hiding under the guise of, no, I just am striving for excellence, or I just can be better, or not celebrating our wins, that kind of thing.
Good points. And the book is an easy read. It's a fast, easy read. And I'm glad to see that several of you guys have already downloaded it and you're gonna make it your next read. So I love it.
Yes. Thanks
I
again,
think
Kelly.
also,
Go ahead.
I think also too, a lot of us when we fail or we didn't complete one of our goals, we stop showing up. So we need to keep showing up. We need to fail forward and keep going because if we don't, we could miss that opportunity if we didn't keep going.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
what I
Robin, that's the so there's a lot of concept in the book. And for me personally, that's the one that spoke that the day after perfect speaks to me the most too, because I don't think that to do anything in this business, you have to be special, but what you have to be is consistent. And so if we quit the day after perfect, even if we pick it back up in 2, 3, 4 weeks, months, whatever, we've missed all of that time because we felt like, oh, I wasn't perfect, so I'm just going to give up. So that day after perfect is so critical. It's more critical, like I was saying earlier, than starting. You get started and you get going, but what really matters is the day after perfect. So that consistency is everything. Good call out.
Nice. Thank you so much. Thanks again. Yeah, and I'm serious about the book club. I'm getting the book and we can give it a couple minutes. Next week, Robin's gonna be sharing like some organize like let's get organized. So I think it's gonna be a perfect lead in this week. Make sure you do that, even if it's 20 minutes, like that. What can I let go of? What do I need to buy? I love the being free to bomb goals that aren't here serving us anymore too. So I'm excited.
Yes, make sure you bring your pens and pencils because I got lots of tips for y'all. Okay. New ones. Okay. Ones you haven't even thought of yet.
Awesome. Okay, well, that's all we have for you. I'm going to stop the recording and then